Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Wei Jingxi from SMTK Hualien. Today, I'll be discussing with you a topic not so discussed in Malaysia: mental health. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It plays a huge role in how we think, feel, and act in our daily lives. Basically, it's what we call mindset. Whether you choose to think positively or negatively, it will affect your mental health. But mental health is too broad a subject. So today I'll be targeting ADHD, or also known as Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Now you may be thinking, what's this ADHD stuff this kid is talking about? Let me raise an example. Have you ever met children, or maybe adults, who are a bit more fidgety and just can't sit still for a long period of time? Chances are that person might have ADHD, or this could just be a normal phase in life. But wait, if it's just a normal phase in life, why is it a disorder? Well, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, a disorder is something that disrupts normal physical or mental functions. So it's easy to see that if it's a disorder, it means that it has already has affected your life in a negative way. But now back to ADHD. It's actually one of the most common mental disorders found in children, according to the 5th edition of the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. Only an estimated 8.5% of children and 2.5% of adults have it. ADHD is mostly first identified in school-age children when it leads to disruption in the classroom or problems with their schoolwork. It's more common in boys and can affect adults, as stated before. There are actually 3 types of ADHD: inattentive, hyperactive, and combined. The first 2 have polar opposite symptoms, whereas the combined is basically a mixture of it, the combination of them. Some of the inattentive type symptoms include short attention span, following instructions halfway, avoiding or disliking things that need a lot of concentration, like making a report, easily losing things, easily getting distracted, and forgetting daily tasks. The hyperactive type, though, they tend to be more fidgety, can stay seated, is able to do things quietly, always moving, is more impatient, and tends to interrupt others. Now, before you run off saying someone has ADHD though, there are 3 requirements required before you can properly diagnose someone. The first being, you need to be a professional psychologist or psychiatrist, not your aunt, not your uncle, okay? Second, the individual must experience at least 5 symptoms for at least 6 months. The third being that it has to be inappropriate for their age or developmental stage. So please, don't say kids who are more impulsive or forgetful have ADHD. It's not fair to them. But please do not think it'll fade away by itself, like that childhood scar of yours. Mental disorders only take a quick break rather than vanish without a trace. While some of the symptoms have changed, lack of focus is always going to be in there. Disorganization, problem with prioritizing, trouble multitasking, frequent mood swings, problems following through and completing tasks, and that's only to name a few that we can be sure of. Since everyone's brain and mindset is different, we can expect different variations of symptoms from them. That's why psychologists and psychiatrists have to have an open mind to better interpret and understand one's struggles or ideas. But as I've mentioned, these symptoms must be experienced by the individual for 6 months at least, and has proven to be an obstacle in their daily lives to be able to be considered as a disorder. Now, personal question. Do you guys love free things? Yeah, everyone loves a nice little freebie, right? Not this you won't. It has been a rather forgotten fact that mental disorders can come in a bundle rather than individual packets. So ADHD can come with mood disorders, anxiety disorders, personality disorders, learning disabilities, and etc. We have noted before that everyone has different symptoms from the start, different variation of it, so we can assume that these are separate disorders rather than ADHD as a whole. As I always say, everyone is a garden. We each have different plants and different environmental needs. So it's not surprising to know we have our own way of coping or not coping with outside stimuli. While it's still unknown why people have ADHD, but there's one thing psychologists have discovered is that ADHD can be passed down to future generation via our genetics. So, for example, 3 out of 4 children with ADHD will have a relative that has the disorder. Other factors that may contribute to the development of ADHD include being born prematurely, brain injury, the mother smoking, using alcohol, or having extreme stress during pregnancy. But for adults, most of them they just grew up without being without being diagnosed, so they don't even know how they got it or anything. To date, there are limited published pieces of literature addressing ADHD, so it's quite rational to not know anything about ADHD. But there are a few things to note when talking or working with them to make them feel much more comfortable and to make life easier for all parties. First being, obviously, we need to be more patient with them. After all, it's not in their best wishes to have gotten this disorder. We also need to be kinder to them as they are facing problems that we, as non-ADHD having people, may not understand. All in all, people with ADHD and other disorders are just like us, just facing different problems and have different characteristics. It's not what defines them, but it definitely is what makes them unique and special. So I believe we should all live and learn to accept each other cohesively to make life easier for everyone. Thank you.